Hi everyone, it's April again. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, I'm so glad you came to join us today. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button below and leave me any comments and questions that you may have, and I will answer every single one of them. Today I want to introduce you to myself. This will be part one because I have survived many things in my life. And I just want to give you an idea of who I am. So let's get started. The first thing I want to tell you is about the situation I was born into, which is actually quite comical. I was born in a state that I have never lived in. My father was in the military, and he was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Go 101st Airborne, Screaming Eagles. And the base housing was across the state line in Clarksville, Tennessee. Therefore, my mother had to cross state lines to give birth to my brother and myself. So both of us were born in a state that we have never lived in. And the second thing that made me odd right at birth is I was born in August and my parents named me April. So basically I shot right out of the womb being an oddball. And I kind of like being an oddball. I've always been different, so I celebrate that and enjoy it every day. And so that's the first thing that was strange about my life. And the second thing is, when I was born, they could not get me to breathe for about half an hour. And that was very scary for my mother. And it finally took a nurse taking me and putting me in hot water and letting me get nice and toasty warm and then dunking me in ice water to finally get me to gasp and take a breath. Well, it had been about 30 minutes since I was born, and the doctor told my mother that I would probably never walk or talk or go to school or potty train or any number of things. But in 1963 they really didn't know that much about what would happen. They just knew it wasn't going to go well for me. And even though I was delayed in walking and talking and other things, I did catch up to my peers and wound up being quite intelligent and managing life pretty well. Another thing that I have is I am dyslexic. And so I went all the way through school taking slow classes and never being on par with my peers or in my national testing scores. I always scored way below my grade level. But because I was a good kid and didn't cause a lot of problems, they passed me on from grade to grade. And when I took my graduation exam for high school graduation, I read on a 4th grade level, which is functionally illiterate. You have to read on a 6th grade level or higher to be considered literate. And at the time, they didn't know much about learning disabilities, so they didn't really know how to help me. But after I got married and had my beautiful daughter, I was given a subscription to a parent magazine. And I found an article in one of the magazines called Conundrum Kids. And I read the article, and it was very interesting in that it talked about how children would get in trouble during certain parts of the school day and get sent out in the hall or to the principal's office, and they did this chronically. But I didn't understand the significance. Why did we do that? Because I had done it, and I didn't understand the significance, and so I took the article to my pediatrician and asked him if he would read the article and explain to me what it meant. And he looked at me kind of funny and he said, you know, your baby's only a year and a half old. You really don't need to worry about these things at this point in her life. And I said, this isn't about my daughter, this is about me. And he understood. And being a pediatrician, he also understood learning disabilities. And so he asked me a few questions, and I answered him honestly. And he said, you have dyslexia, and there are ways to overcome it and work with it. It does not mean that you're dumb or that you can't succeed in life. It just means that your brain functions differently from the way the school system chooses to teach. And so he gave me the tools that I needed to learn to read. And because I had a toddler, I was able to go to the library and check out books that were beginner readers. And over the next 2 to 3 years, I went from beginner readers all the way up to a teen level reading. And I was reading 2, 3, 4 books a week because I could read and things made sense. And I understood what my brain was doing wrong and when it did it wrong, to go back and reread a paragraph and grasp the correct meaning. Because when things didn't make sense when I was reading in high school and even elementary school, if they didn't make sense, I thought everybody saw what I saw and that it didn't make sense to them either, or that I was just stupid and it should make sense but it didn't. And honestly, for several months after I was told by this pediatrician that I have dyslexia, I cried. And I cried, and I cried, and my husband would say, "What are you crying about?" And I'd say, "I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid." And all my life I'd been told I was stupid because I couldn't pass regular classes. I couldn't do regular schoolwork. And come to find out, I have a pretty high IQ. I'm actually really not stupid, but quite intelligent. And that's why at 55 I still have a thirst for learning everything I can possibly learn about everything I can possibly learn about. And I enjoy reading now. I read all of the time. And I've recognized dyslexia in other people's children, and knowing that if they find something they're interested in reading, they're more likely to take the time to struggle through reading the book. And so I've given them sets of books on things that I thought they would enjoy. One little boy was a co-worker's son, and he was behind in his reading level, but he really liked the Percy Jones books. And so I got him the whole series as a gift. And do you know that by the time he finished reading those books, he was above grade level in his reading abilities, reading and comprehension. His spelling had increased, his vocabulary had increased, his grammar had greatly improved in his speaking, and everyone was so surprised at how well he did with that, and I was really glad about that. So that's just one little bit of interesting information about who I am and where I've come from and how I got to where I am. But the next step I took was I decided to go back to school when I was 29, which was about 4 years after I'd been told I had dyslexia, and kind of taught myself to read. And do you know that I graduated with a 4.0 GPA? I opted not to go to a four-year college because of the excessive amount of reading. Really just wasn't practical. So I went to business school, and I majored in medical office technology, and I can spell giant words like phagocytosis and tell you what it means. But when I'm typing, I misspell my own name. So go figure. It's kind of a contradictory thing to have dyslexia. But you can succeed. I was in the medical field for over 20 years. I thoroughly enjoyed everything I did. I was a huge success in my field and in my career. And being dyslexic just means you get to do it differently and you get to do it better. So that's an encouragement to any parent with a child that has dyslexia, or any parent that has dyslexia and doesn't know how to help their child with their homework. You can do it. It just takes a little bit of effort and time and patience with yourself. And so, anyway, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of getting to know me and some of the struggles that I've overcome. And there will be a part 2 if you would like it. Leave me a comment below telling me what else you want to know about me, what other things I've overcome. And I hope that this has been helpful to someone, or at least entertaining if nothing else, because I have had a funny life. I mean, you just look back and all you can do is laugh. And that's why I tell you at the end of my videos, don't forget to laugh. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment or question below. I will answer every one of them. And have a great day. Don't forget to laugh. Talk to you soon.